Hello, and I want to welcome you to Sunday Conversations. I'm with my homegirl. My name is David Defoe. This is
Denise Defoe.
And we are excited to start this brand new show called Sunday Conversations for the Allegheny East Conference, the Relationship Ministries Department. But while you're watching, what I want you to do is I want you to just in the comments, let us know where you're from. Let us know where you're watching from. Listen, if you have any questions now or later on for our presenters, just type them in the comment box. Toward the end of our broadcast, we'll take questions and answers from our presenters. But I am so excited about the prospect of doing this show. The way that the show will work is we'll bring on couples, we'll bring on individuals to talk about love, sex, relationships, dating, all things relationships. We're going to talk about it. Nothing is going to be off limits. And so I'm very excited to have our guest this morning. Denise, say something to the people.
Hello. We are excited to start this. My name is Denise. I am a social worker here in Maryland, and I am just happy to be participating with you on this wonderful topic.
Wonderful. All right. So we're going to bring on our guest. I want to introduce to you all or bring live to the broadcast. I want to say hello and give a shout out to Patrick and Natalie Graham. They live around the corner. I don't know why we couldn't get together to do this in person. They don't let people in their house that they're afraid will steal from them. So, but we want to thank you all for coming on. Listen, let me just introduce you all. Then we're going to have a little short commercial break, and then we'll come back and start our discussion. Patrick, of course, is the youth director for the Allegheny East Conference. He's graduated from Oakwood College, from Andrews University. He currently serves as the youth director for the conference. He has his hands in a whole lot of other things as well. I'll let him talk a little bit more about himself. And then, of course, the star of the show, Miss Natalie Graham. I don't know how we got lucky enough to get you on camera, but here we are. Natalie is a graduate of Oakwood, also of Andrews. She currently works for NIH as a health science researcher. So we know who's the smart one in the family, but they have 3 children. Jasmine, Joseph, and Jordan, and we are so grateful to have them on. Why don't you all just tell us a little bit about you that maybe I didn't mention, and then we're going to break for commercial, then we'll go right into our discussion.
You mentioned it all already. I trust that you already know what I do. We work together, and what I like about us working together is how we merge in the youth ministries and family ministries and relationship ministries. So I think this is going to be a blast. I really don't know how you got her to agree. I'm not sure. I'll check the paycheck afterwards to see what happened here. But it's Natalie.
Hi, morning, everybody. Natalie, as has been said, I'm a health science analyst at NIH. I don't do research.
Oh, man, I messed that up.
That's okay. That's all right. It's okay. I used to, but not anymore. And this is definitely going to be interesting this morning.
All right. So we can't wait to get into this discussion to find all about Patrick and Natalie. But we're going to just break for this short commercial real quick, and then we'll be right back with you on Sunday Conversations.
The Relationship Ministries Department of the Allegheny East Conference is a family of ministries that seeks to engage, enrich, and empower families, men, singles, couples, and parents to have healthy and whole relationships. To access the many resources we have available to you, your church, or your family, visit us on the web at www.visitaec.org/relationshipmin.
All right, we ready to go?
I really like that.
That was really cute.
Yes, she did a really good job with that.
She did an awesome job. Awesome job. She's a natural.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to get started with some questions, and I want to know how you all first met.
Okay.
Tell us the real story.
You want the
too.
truth, or do you want Patrick's version? Those are two different things. You want to start?
Go ahead. You can
Oh,
tell me.
okay. We met at Oakwood. Um, our families were dating one another, so put it that way. So we were kind of socialized around in the same circles. And in Pat and Paul are, it's impossible to not meet them at Oakwood. That's just a virtual impossibility. Um, so we became friends. My cousin and I were in his choir, gave him a hard time. But Gary became like my big brother. His older brother, Gary, was always like my big brother. And so Pat and I became friends. And the way we started, I think, liking each other or looking at each other to consider that we have feelings for each other
But I'm listening.
is,
I
yeah,
was
listen to the truth, is Pat always dreamt about having a, big house and a studio in his house. And he had a book with some, like plans
layouts,
and
layouts.
house layouts that he would look at and he would show me from time to time. And I had an older friend of mine whose sister was moving to the area, and she was helping her look for a house. So she would drag me along. And this friend's sister's husband was a doctor. And we were looking at these
So
huge,
we were going from house
beautiful
to house.
mansions
We were going from house to house on Sundays.
in Huntsville. So I would go with her to these houses, and they're really, really beautiful. And as a college student, you just kind of imagine and fantasize about what your home's going to look like once you graduate and get a nice job and things like that. So I would be like, Pat, you should see this house. This house has, you know, tray ceilings and recessed lighting and a huge backyard and a pool. And they're having an open house. Let's go look at it. So we would start going to open houses just to look at our future homes and kind of fantasize. But no one was taking two college students seriously. So we decided we would dress up and pretend like we were married and
Right.
come up with this story. Um, so then, of course, we had to figure out how long we've been married because we didn't get that right the first time they asked us.
Right. Right.
Did we want children? How many bedrooms were we looking for? So we kind of started to kind of live our story
Come on, that they
actually.
were building. They were building on Mount Sano. And while they were building on Mount Sano, we kept going from house to house to house to house. So basically, we had to have the same story, and we weren't really dating at this time, but we were. She had the car, I didn't, so she would take me to
You
these
needed the
places.
ride,
I needed the ride,
right?
and the story just kind of unfolded,
Right.
kept unfolding and unfolding until it's almost as though we kind of bought into
We bought into that
to the
story.
story, right? And bought into the story.
Gotcha.
Something that's how we really met. That's how.
Okay.
It sounds like you all had that story down pat. Well, that's good. That's sort of exciting. So talk to us about some of the biggest blessings that you've seen in your marriage, and then tell us about a time in your marriage where you don't think you would have made it through it without each other.
Mm. The our relationship started as best friends. I mean, and when I say that, I'm talking about even outside of dating. I know we talked about the real estate, but it was bigger than real estate. It was also the music. It was also, Huntsville didn't have much, so we always used to go to Birmingham and drive to Nashville as far as music was concerned. And be honest with you, I was dating someone else at that time, but our friendship was growing, and as our friendship started to grow from there, what I looked at both of us as having was this tight friendship that it just couldn't be broken. It was fun. It was like Bonnie and Clyde type thing. You know what I mean? We never sat back and said, "Oh, I love you. Here's flowers and all that." It was like, "Yo, what you doing today? Let's go hang out. Let's go rob Circle K. Something like that, or whatever." They don't know nothing about that. See, from Andrews. So that was the fun part of it, and we went into. There's a whole big story why when we got married, but when we came into this relationship with the blessing that we have in this relationship is simple. The friendship that we had was just major tight. You know what I mean? That is the best part of it. That is the blessing part of it. I do think one of the hardest things that we ever had to go through in our marriage is Joseph. Joseph being Asperger's. I didn't want to accept it as him having Asperger's. we dealt with a lot of health issues as far as he was concerned. When I say health issues, having Asperger's was something that I just did not want to accept as a father, and I think that's where there was a lot of break in it. She has her own concept of raising kids. I have my own concept of raising kids. So I think the biggest hardships that we ever had was probably, schooling. Oh, we work for the conference, so I need our kids to go to the, you know what I'm talking about, to go to this school. But yet we live in Bowie, where we have some of the best schools. You know what I mean? We had a lot of we bumped a lot during those times, and I think again the friendship is what helps it go along. Or I think there are times we would just be like, yo, I'm out. She would leave me in a heartbeat. She makes more than me,
You said she makes what?
a little bit more than me.
More than a little bit. I know it. I know what you make.
So, so
I
one
do
thing
think,
that, go
I'm
ahead, go ahead,
sorry.
go
I
ahead.
do think that in terms of a blessing, um, I, I fully support what Pat says is friendship. We don't always, um, he gets on my nerves, and I'm sure I get on his nerves, and that's very normal and natural when you live with anyone. Um, but the reality is, I respect him, and he respects me, and that's important. And we don't. There's no fantasy marriage. If you're getting married with that in mind, you're going to quickly wake up and realize that does not exist. It is work, and part of that is we have our little private jokes that keep us going. We laugh a lot. Some people might look at it as immature. It's not. It's kind of what keeps you going sometimes. A lot of laughter. We have a lot of fun. We're lighthearted with a lot of things. I think we try not to take ourselves too seriously, because honestly, life is just, it's serious enough. So I think we cope with things well together. We've learned over time, and it's taken a lot of time to kind of defer to one another when we need to. I may not always get what I want. I pretty much, for the most part, get what I want. Um, and Pat is great with that. Pat doesn't bother me. He doesn't nag me, and I try not to nag and bother him. That just makes home a very unhappy place. Act like you know
Hey,
what
hey,
I'm
hey,
saying.
hey,
True.
hey, hey. When we call the police,
Right.
just give
Um,
me the sign,
just
Pat.
home has to be your heaven,
Hmm.
because that's really all we've got. And when you're living with someone that's just making your life hell, that's, you lose that.
Hmm.
So I try to keep that in mind. I give him his total space to do what he wants to do. He does the same for me, and
Oh,
that's a blessing.
and real quick, one of the hardships also was that she grew up in a stable church, like one church. Remember, with the children having to move, going from one church to the other church to the next church. I had a problem with that. I wanted our family, things have changed, but I wanted our family to look like the pastoral family, and she were like, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, I used to go to when I went to church, she would take the kids to like Brinklow for Pathfinders. She'll take the kids to um Sligo
Their Sabbath
for
school.
Sabbath school, and then come over. When we're talking about things that have, I'm not going to say gone wrong, but some of the biggest challenges, that's where I stay with that as far as it's concerned. Then again, Joseph with Asperger's, put him in an Adventist school that did not have the facilities or to meet his needs. I'm here thinking, okay, let's go ahead and let everybody else be happy. She's like, nah, we ain't doing that. It's our children first. But again, going back to it again, we don't really nag each other. I don't bother her. I'm going to start doing it now, though, especially during COVID.
Well, I'm really glad that you guys did emphasize the importance of friendship, because a lot of times people have the whole rosy picture of, how you said you didn't do the whole flowers thing and I love you, so it wasn't all mushy, but it started out as friendship, a true friendship. That was the foundation of your relationship. And sometimes we've even said, I will always love you, but sometimes I just don't like you because you're getting under my skin, but it's important to really like that yes, it's true.
Yeah, I don't care.
Listen. So, but I'm glad that you brought that up. It's very important to have that foundation of a true friendship.
Yeah. So, so talk to us a little bit about how you handle conflict, right? Dealing with work-life balances, and then are there any examples that you want to share? Because really, what we want to do is we want to give people who are watching, maybe even people who are dating, people who are struggling in their marriage, struggling in their relationships, some good practical tips and tools. So, how do you all sort of handle conflict and your work-life balances?
Dave, I'm grateful for something like this, and that you're putting out there. Every marriage is a struggle. I'm not going to walk in here. I preach, and when I preach what what I believe is true, and everyone has their ups and downs. You hear of the 7-year itch, and you hear of the oh no, I like what Denise was saying. I love you, but today I don't like you, or I don't like what's happening, or everybody has those ups and downs, type stuff. And I think one thing that I feel is necessary in a marriage, or in our marriage, is to try to find a way to get back to the beginnings, or try to find the foundation of to bring it back up again. There's always hills and always valleys. I look at COVID as being, in one sense, a valley, and in one sense, a hill, because out of all the years that she's been working, 15, 16 years at NIH, I never knew what she did. 18 years, I never knew what she did. What I, I didn't.
Apparently, you don't know where she worked neither.
Listen, I have no clue. I think I've been to her job a couple of times. I just used to pick her up for lunch. And this is another thing so let's get into the nitty gritty of it. When she first got her job, I used to go there lunchtimes. You visit somebody in the hospital, you go there lunchtimes, you pick her up, you hang out. One day it just ends. Do you understand what I'm saying? You just don't do it anymore. Okay, I got stuff to do. You got stuff to do. And then, especially with the kids, this is the real reality of it. You start living for the kids and stop living for each other. I mean, and that's the real thing of it. So you have your worship in the mornings, you leave from there, you drop the kids off at school, and I'm the soccer dad. You know what I mean? Because we're in ministry. So because I'm the soccer dad and she's off to work, and whichever, it causes a wedge in between. And then by the time you turn around, you find out that the kids are grown, and it's like, where we are right now. This is what I and we've talked about this before. Where we are right now is, it's like the kids are gone. They're not gone now, but they're
grown. They're adults.
They're grown. They're 25, 23, 21 years old.
Jeez.
So we're and Dave, you remember cradling them,
Yeah.
So here we are at a place where it's almost like we have to start over again. You know what I mean? It's almost like we have to find the very beginning of, we're not dealing with them anymore. And I think if you ask me the pertinent question, and you could help me with this, that is, I think that's where we are right now in our relationship, having to get back to know each other again, to learn each other again, because the bottom line is that I think also do this, we both have changed.
So I just want to speak to handling conflict. It's not easy. It's never easy. I think you hear all of this: communication is the key. Communication is the key, and people kind of wear that mantra down. But if you don't know how to communicate, then you're not getting the key. So you have to try different ways of figuring out how to reach that person. I think as we've gotten older, we argue about things less. I'm like, whatever. I ain't arguing about it. You find that the little things that you argue about really don't make a bit of difference. And sometimes it's better to save your energy for the things that count, and for the things that matter. If I nag Pat all the time about little things, then when the big thing comes along that I really want him to hear me on, he's going to tune me out. So we try to figure out, and a lot of it is, okay, it's timing. Should I say it now? Should I wait? Sometimes I like to get stuff off my chest right off the bat. I can confront
Which
without
is not necessarily the right time.
I can confront without a problem. It works for me. I need to get it off my chest. But I've learned that, okay,
Yes,
let me just wait a
therapists.
minute.
That's what I have a problem with therapists. You'll say it
This is
anytime,
not a therapy
anyway.
session.
No, it's we're going into therapy right now.
But you're
So
cutting me off and I'm not finished. And you got your whole spiel. Give me a minute. Just put a pin in it, write it down, think about it for a second.
I love that hand.
So,
Yeah, I love that hand. Just be quiet.
so,
Sit there.
so sometimes I've had to learn over time, because me, if I'm confronted with, I'm a problem solver. I hate to let things sit and fester. We got a problem. Let's sit down, figure it out. Let's solve it. Let's keep it moving. I cannot stand festering in anything. But I've had to learn that maybe I need to wait just a minute. Maybe I need to just hold back. Maybe Pat's not in the mood to hear me right now. And so I've had to learn over time how to read him in order to communicate with him. Um, we've learned how to communicate. Sometimes we may text. Sometimes it's not always verbal, direct face to face. I mean, write him a letter or email him. So you kind of have to experiment with what is the best way to communicate what you're feeling to this person. And it may not be your way. It may not be the way that you want to, but if you want to be successful in getting your thoughts across, you have to consider how they're going to receive it. That's important. And listen, we still don't have it down pat. We've been married for 25 years. We still don't get it down pat. But I know one thing now: if I say something, even if Pat acts like he doesn't receive it well, at least I know I've tried. If I try, at least I know he hears me. So his immediate response may not be what I want, but over time I might see a change in that behavior, which tells me, okay, he was real mad at me when I said it, but he got me, So it's an experimentation. And then, as you get older, you kind of mellow out, start worrying about stuff less, So you kind of evolve, hopefully together over time.
Half of it, you just don't want to argue anymore.
You don't want to argue anymore.
Just leave it alone, or whichever. But I agree.
Because that whole thing about not going to bed angry, that does not work for us.
Come on, man.
It could be a couple days. Don't touch me with your foot. Stay over on the other side of the bed.
That's the test. The test.
She said only her foot, though.
Yeah. Say it again.
She said only her foot. Don't touch her with your foot.
Yeah.
But that's the test. That's the foot test. If somehow they reach out and he touches me with his foot and I kick it back, I'm still not speaking to you. And that could go for a while. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, we've kind of accomplished nothing, So work-life balance. I have to say work-life balance has been a blessing for us. When we first moved here, I had an opportunity to either work at the USDA doing research on parasites, which I really, really love, which I really, really wanted. And then I had the NIH job, and I had to choose between the two. The NIH job is more of an office job looking at scientific research. I chose the office job because I needed to be there for my kids. And when you're doing research, you have to be there no matter, whatever the experiment calls for. If you're harvesting tissues every 4 hours, you got to be there 2 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. And our children were younger then. They were in elementary school. So I chose what I wanted, which was a more stable job. And in doing so, you give up something. You give up sort of the excitement of what you want to do. So that's the balance. That's the give and take. But it allowed me to be there for my kids. It allowed me to, whenever one of them got in trouble, I could just pick up, drive down to the school and be there in 17 minutes. And that was great. And I have to say, Pat is the awesome father. He's the most awesome dad. He never puts ministry before his family. And I wish a lot of, when you look at a lot of pastors' kids, one of their complaints is that they feel they lost their parent or their father to the church. Our kids cannot say that. Pat was at every soccer game. Pat dropped them to school. He would hang around at the school. And the school liked that. They liked having, Pastor Graham around in case something went wrong. He'd pick them up. He was better at the math homework than I was. I remember once he let the church know, my son's got a soccer game. I won't be at Wednesday night prayer meeting because I'm going to be at his game. One of the elders can manage it, So I can honestly say that he did a great job in putting our family first, because ultimately we brought them into this world and we are responsible for that.
I know I'm not following the outline of question, but what I do want to tell people is this: before you get married, know your family, know their family also. And I'm not plugging Denise, but it's I know that you you're adopted and what you have gone through. And I follow your story from the beginning. So it's kind of hard to mention this part, but you still had great people who raised you. One of the things that I feel that you should know while you're dating or getting serious is that you have to know their family. I have to say that if I things would be a lot different, a lot or we would have been ahead of the game if I learned her family or if she learned my family. Because the truth is that you do marry your in-laws. It. I don't want to hear what anybody say about
Mhm.
those type of things. You marry your in-laws, and Natalie's family is really great. They're good people. So um and my family good people too. Now the point I'm making is that if you learn the family, you know what pieces you're gonna get from each other. Boy, this is gonna be rough. Dave, I'm coming over to sleep on your couch.
In
Listen,
the
I know
basement.
that one day I was outside of G.E. Peters and she was yelling at Joseph. And Natalie was yelling at Joseph, and I felt like she was about to beat me up. I felt like, so I understand, Pat, that look and them little touches, man, she terrified me.
Listen, I'm gonna say this though. Natalie, I'm very surprised that Natalie decided to do this. Because you're not the type to do something like this. She, I always say to her, which was one of our challenges, oh, why can't you be a minister's wife? Like, what? Hold up. She ain't no minute. I'm not a minister's wife. What do you always say? My first ministry
My family. I'm
is
your wife.
is the kids. So
Right.
she was never a part of that. But people look at Natalie and the first thing they say is, yeah, I don't even want to be around her. I don't because
Really?
yeah, that's right. They do say that because her
Okay.
because her countenance is more of a like she has her boundaries type but
Mhm.
not like that at all. I mean, um Natalie is a good person. She could be sweet at times. um
All
um
right. What's the next question?
Yeah,
So
let me
I,
help. Let's help
Yeah.
you.
what I wanted to say is that that's something that I appreciate about you, Natalie, is being your authentic self and being allowing your ministry to be your family. And I looked to you when I was marrying David, because I didn't want to conform to the mold of what a pastor's wife should be or look like. And Pat gave you that space to be you and to say, okay, I will. I don't want to lead the choir. I don't want to help with Sabbath school. I don't want to go to prayer meeting. And at first I felt bad. I was like, well, I just want to be me. I want to, I just want to be who I am. I married David. I didn't marry Pastor Defoe. And so I just want to say, I appreciate you for that too. I look to you for that example. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank
All right, hit him with the next question.
Okay.
yeah,
So the
Okay.
hurry up
next
because
question
yeah.
is, how do you
That's
keep
another
things,
conversation. Sorry.
oh Lord, how do you guys keep things spicy in your marriage
After all these years,
after all these years?
When you say spicy, you mean hot spicy, like sex spicy, or you mean just keep things spicy?
just just
Even if
period. You get the
You're
question
getting, yeah.
because then I'm going to ask it deeper, and then you're not going to answer after I
right,
expound on the question.
Natalie is the social vice coordinator of the house. So one of the things that
Go ahead. I'm trying to see how this translates into sex. Go ahead.
well, I'm not talking about sex, right?
Okay. Okay.
I'm not talking about sex.
All right.
I'm talking about spicy the relationship, right? So far, if you could ask whatever you want to ask, but what I wanted to add is that recently, maybe over the past 5 years or so, she's gotten into cruises, and gotten into all of those type of things. So um, there's always something to look forward to because she's the one that's always planning where we're gonna go next. What's going and the thing she came up with, I can't even say we, is that she wanted to go cruising twice a year.
Oh.
So here's a person that before 5 years ago, I never took any vacations, not
Mm.
at all. So we just kept
Wow.
going and going and going. And so that's one of the things we look forward to as far as that's concerned. We do renovations together in the house now. Those are the type of spicy stuff that we want to concern. Now, if you want to get to sex, ask her because I'm really waiting to see.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I'm really waiting to see what her answer is going to be, and I'm gonna tell everybody, yeah, it slows down,
It slows down.
slow, slow,
Way
slow
down.
down,
So
slow,
I think when you
slow.
I think when you're young and you have all this energy, and you're so excited about one another, of course, sex is a glue, honestly, that helps to hold things together. It's really it's beautiful, but it's not everything, and it is not the only intimacy that you can have. So, keeping things spicy, to me means
Go ahead, I'm waiting.
trying. Listen, hey,
I'm waiting.
when we were younger, you try out stuff,
Yeah.
you try new things, but, and there's a big caveat here.
There's a big but. Say
There's
you
a,
can say
I
but.
need you to be quiet when I'm talking.
You said but.
However, talk
I
to
told
each
her
other,
before I
talk to
married
one.
her
I need you
that
to be quiet.
I told her
You're
there's two
interrupting.
reasons why we.
This
Yes.
is why I don't get on camera and do
Okay,
anything
go
with
ahead,
him.
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but it's true. This is true though. Tell me in my line.
But you don't always have to speak the truth, and that's your problem. It's too much.
Listen, I said I'm marrying you for two reasons: your hair and your butt.
Oh my
All
God.
And now that everyone listening knows that, let's move on to answering the question.
So now she has a hair, and I need to know.
Commercial break.
When are we gonna continue the way it was over it, like everyday type stuff?
That does not exist.
Please, Natalie, please continue.
Okay, so I'm trying to get back to reality. So, now I lost my train of thought. Listen, sexually in the bedroom, we're all adults here. We can talk about it. Be willing to try new things. Talk about it. But recognize that
she wanted the
you are interrupting your bride.
Oh, this is true, Dave. Dave, look, people want to listen. We had this canopy thing on the bed, that you could chain people, you could chain her to, and
This question.
We don't use it anymore. We don't use it. We don't. So
I'm sorry.
All I'm saying is that you talk about keeping it spicy. It's slow down. I'm thinking right now we need to go back to the chains and the whips.
Oh Jesus!
But you have to be awake for that. So, so. And listen,
okay. Let's mute Denise.
Okay, so
I want to thank you
no,
for addressing that question.
Yeah,
no,
good.
No, because at bridal showers, they encourage, oh, you're gonna have sex every day. Oh, sex this, da 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 da. Here's all these toys. Here's all these things. Here's all this loot. Right? They don't talk about other ways of intimacy, and I think that you guys brought that up. A good point.
Absolutely.
Is the restoration of the house is just spending time together outside of.
They haven't finished it. Don't try to rescue them. They haven't finished the sex.
This
is very important. Please, Natalie, talk to them. Okay. This is very important because there's some couples out there that are struggling with this. They're trying to gauge their marriage on, maybe they just got married. Things are happening in their homes, and they're not really engaging in intercourse like they want to, or doing those things that they want to. Man, help them. Let them know that they can make it. Come on. So this is an important conversation.
So I think part of our problem. Why you got the Bible up? part of I think our problem, just as a society, we have a complete misconception of sex, and for so many people, especially young people, a successful sexual relationship is often defined by what they see in the media, on television, porn, and that's not reality. And so they quite often feel that they don't have a successful sexual part of their relationship because it doesn't mimic what they see in other distorted media. And the reality is you have to make your own thing. It has to be your own thing. And unfortunately, sometimes people let these challenges define the success of their whole relationship, and it doesn't. The reality is when you go to bed, you sleepy. Sometimes I tell Pat, you got to catch me standing up because I am tired. I want to go to sleep.
I won't mind that. I would not mind catching her standing up.
Okay, so you have to make it your own, and part of intimacy.
At her job in the parking lot, I try everything.
So you got to make it your own, and you got to be honest with each other and talk about it. So when I say be willing to try new things, but unfortunately, some of those new things are defined by what we see, and they sometimes can end in a more hurtful emotional experience than an incredible sexual one. Mm-hmm. So talk about what your boundaries are. Talk about what you're willing to do from what you're not willing to do, and be honest with yourself, because, hey, I've heard couples say it'll be exciting to bring somebody else in. Okay, you do that, but don't forget that sexual experience is going to be done, when the time frame is up. You still have to live with what you've done, and then you have to live with the feelings that come about from that. And so maybe you weren't honest with yourself in the first place. Maybe it's what your partner wanted and you didn't want, and now it's going to cause a problem in your relationship. That's just an example. There are many, many, many things people can do, but that's just an example. So it's important to be honest about how you feel and honest about what you want. Compromise with your partner, but don't sacrifice your boundaries, because in the end, your marriage is not about sex. You still have to live together every day when you're not having sex. But that act is going to define part of your relationship.
And to be honest with you, what holds us together again from the very beginning is our friendship from the very beginning. So, um, there's a lapse in time as far as intimacy, as far as sex is concerned. But I also believe that there's a mind thing, and I think, to be perfectly honest with you, between Natalie and myself, remember, you have these cycles of marriage in the marriage, right? And I guarantee you, when Dana hits 18 years old and she's off to college and whatever, it's another flip again. Everything is just flipped again. Everything just keeps turning. And and I Natalie said it right. You got to be honest with each other. We have to be honest with each other. Sometimes I don't like to talk to her about stuff like that because I would have to be honest. You understand what I'm saying? I would have to say to her, I want this, I want the other. And I'm not talking about anything crazy, chains, webs. I'm not talking about those type of things. Sometimes sometimes things flip. Sometimes I want to be touchy feely instead of, instead of something totally different than being touchy feely or whatever.
Like painting?
So I'm real serious about that. Early in our marriage, it was, like now I like taking showers by myself, and just chill by myself or whatever. Before, it's like, you jumping in, you coming in, you gonna take a bath, we're gonna take a bath together. Now, if she in the shower or in the bath and I come in and she'd be like, what you doing in here? Get out of here. I mean, and I'm saying to myself, hey, so things flip flop as we go along. And I think what we need to do, if you have the foundation of friendship, which is something that we're back to working on, that tight friendship, bringing that back again. I think COVID helped it. That we're in the house, you got to bump into each other. I never knew that she worked when she went to work. And this is out in the outside, right? No, because she used to come back and be like, yo, I saw this movie. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Don't
now that
put
I know
that
that
money in jeopardy now. She make more than you, remember?
yeah, let me just keep it where it is. Well, COVID is helping. And to be honest with you, we're not the perfect couple. We go through our ups and downs. There are things that we need to be careful of. It doesn't matter. Friendships, even on the outside, male or female, doesn't make a difference at all. Um, you just got to keep the foundation of your friendship tight. That's I think that we're working on again another cycle around it.
The other thing I want to add is that you're never always on the same sexual drive.
We still in
You
sex.
know, you're never always there. One person's might be greater at one time and another person's might be lesser. And as you get older, your body changes. Stop.
What is that?
Your bodies change. Women go through menopause, premenopause. Men go through andropause. You need to look it up. Their sex
What?
drive goes down too. It's called andropause. It's very real. So what happens is you kind of define your desire for one another, by, hey, he doesn't want me anymore. Hey, we don't do it as much as we used to anymore. Does that mean that he's not interested? Am I no longer attractive? And so if you don't have a good foundation and being honest with each other and telling each other what's going on and how you're feeling, and it's easy to kind of feel insecure when things change.
Pastor, somebody asked, doctor, somebody asked, public display of affection. How do we feel about public display of affection? Right.
I think there are limits. I mean, get a room after a while. I mean, holding hands or whatever. Pat and I hold hands almost everywhere we go. It's just kind of natural. But this is personally for me. I'm not a kissy, feely, huggy person. I think some things you can just be aware that you are in public, and some of those intimate things you just do at home privately.
Well, one of the things, especially COVID.
Well, that's not happening anymore. No more public displays of affection, right?
No, but really is she wear different clothing now. No, really, it's true. I mean, she dressed well. One thing about Natalie, she dressed well. But when I see her now in like sweats and things like that, easy access type thing, it did I say that? What happens is no, really, because we go to Home Depot, she picks out this, that, and the other. She holds my hand. When she holds my hand, this is true though. When she holds my hand in public, I think something gonna happen later, right? I mean, that's what I think. Or if, but most of the time now that
The sign of desperation.
well, when she holds my hand or she kissed me in public and all of that,
I don't ever kiss you in public.
I'm not talking about tongue kissing or like that, but when she kissed me in public or she's kissed or something like that, I'm feeling like there's something coming up that she's about to ask me for. There's something that's not on sale that she's gonna get, and things like that. So she has ulterior motives towards public. Or if there's some lady around that's probably looking at me or say something to me, and she'll hold on to me or something like that and be
That's
like,
what he would love for me to do. That does not ever happen.
we don't do much of it, but we hold hands. We don't kiss and all that in public or anything like that. But or at home, she doesn't want to hold my hand at home.
So I want to thank you all for that honesty, for that openness. We're almost winding down, and we're gonna take questions and answers from the audience really quickly. We already have some that were submitted, so if you have questions, make sure you submit your questions. But we do have some singles on the line. We do have some people who are dating that are on the line. All we want to know, give us some advice. What is some advice that you would give to someone who's contemplating marriage based on your years of marriage, the things you all know about relationships? What would you all tell them?
Can I go first since you're going to be naturally long-winded? Okay.
Let me tell you what. Before she says that, let me tell you why I got a problem.
Here
No,
we go.
seriously, Dave, you ever preached a bad sermon? Seriously, you ever preached like a dud sermon? You ever preached?
He might not admit that on air.
Never.
No,
Never.
you know when you done. Forget what the people say when
No,
they
no.
head. Okay.
I've never done it. God preaches his own sermons, so if they fall, it's on him.
Well,
He gets the glory, he gets the blame.
you talk about honesty.
Amen.
So she'll be in the car, right? After a sermon that didn't go well to her, and she'll go like this. So I'm like, what happened? She was like, well, you ended this way, you ended that way, you ended the other way.
You really need to stop exaggerating. I don't ever criticize your sermons.
No, criticize not criticize like you're killing it, but like, if I added like my alliterations were bad or something like that, you'd be like, oh, you know what?
And I do it gently if needed. Anyway, advice.
Honesty. That's what I was really getting into, the honesty piece of it. That's what I was saying. And that I did appreciate that type of honesty. No, I'm serious about it. So that's why I'm saying to young people or to those who are dating, I'm saying one of the best things that you need is honesty. In other words, if he's a liar before, he's going to be a liar right through. If you cannot change a person, you can't marry a person to change them. That's really where I was getting to as far as that's concerned. If that person is not giving you the attention now, you're not going to get the attention later on. So everything that you need and that you're planning on getting married to the person, what you see before, you're going to see that after. It's clearly going to be that way.
Sounds good. Sorry?
No. So anything else that y'all want to share for couples contemplating?
I would say that it's easy to get caught up in the feeling when you're with someone, but you have to use your brain as well. Things have to make sense. I encourage my kids, and I'm very logical, maybe sometimes too logical, and I need to add more humanity to it, but I encourage my kids, think through it. Don't feel through it. Don't feel through everything. Don't make decisions on a feeling. Feelings are unreliable. They can change, with the weather, honestly. You need to think through the decisions that you're making with this person. Does it make sense? Is this something that's going to be is this relationship going to be beneficial to you in the long run? Are you both going to be able to pull each other up? If you're not doing it now while you're dating, it's not going to suddenly happen when you get married.
Right.
And so you need to be honest with yourself. I like this person. They make me feel good, but you know what? They're not good for me. If they're not good for you now, they're going to be 10 times worse for you when you get married. And the other thing with marriage is as you grow into one and you spend time, as our children have gotten older and they're now adults, we realize the reality that you have children to raise them and equip them with the tools to go out and become productive members of society and and live their life to uplift God. But they're going to leave, but you get married to stay, and you're with that person until you die. And I'm convinced
Mercy.
that, there's just no option. Now, there are exceptions with relationships that should not be. Then I don't believe in being miserable. I don't believe in being unhappy. And I'm not going to stay in something that I'm unhappy in for the rest of my life. I don't care what biblical scholar comes to me and says anything. It means nothing to me.
Are you happy?
It is, I'll tell you later. You have to, if you look at something knowing that I've got to do this for the rest of my life,
Right.
then you're going to put something into it to make sure that you're happy. And you both have to look at it that way.
Right.
Our kids are going to come and go, but we're going to be together till we die. We might as well be happy and make this work. And that's kind of the way I look at it. And then there are going to be those days when it's just your marriage commitment that keeps you together. That lovey, rosy feeling, it wanes. It's going to come and go. And some days you're going to be like, you know what? This man gets on my nerves, but I'm married to him. I made a commitment before God, so we're going to make it work. So, be realistic, be honest, and think it through. Don't just feel it through.
Gotcha. We want to thank you all for that. And we're going to come back and we're going to take questions from our online audience. And so we're going to break for about 30 seconds for a commercial break. And then by all means, if you have questions, please make sure that you just type them into the comment box. And we'll be right back with Patrick and Natalie as they take your live questions.
The Relationship Ministries Department of the Allegheny East Conference is a family of ministries that seeks to engage, enrich, and empower families, men, singles, couples, and parents to have healthy and whole relationships. To access the many resources we have available to you, your church, or your family, visit us on the web at www.visitaec.org/relationshipmin.
Yo, that music is banging.
Yo, see, I ain't got a studio like you, man, but we could mix some stuff, man. We can
Hey,
mix.
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
even
come to
gonna lie.
Bowie.
I know we only got a couple minutes, but can I hear your daughter just one more time? Do you mind that?
No.
I just need to
No,
hear.
no, we're in a professional. You
Right.
have it on your phone. I sent
My
it to you
fault.
already.
Right.
All right, so we have we have some questions that have come. I'm gonna scroll up and see if I can get the one. This one comes from Ms. Samuels. What tips do you guys have for two Stonewall communicators?
Wow. By Stonewall, I wonder is it that they don't speak?
Yeah,
I'm
they
wondering
don't want to engage.
either they don't want to engage.
Yeah, they don't want to go to their separate corners. They or one with treats.
Try different methods of communication, but recognize you're not going very far. Everything is going to become a conflict if you can't talk about it. Everything.
I mean, little things will be.
Every little things will be a problem.
So, and be honest with you, It just never works. Um, there are times when I choose not to communicate. I don't want to communicate, and really, what it does, it makes simple things harder. Doctor, there's one thing you can deal with that. That sometimes when communication is like that, there might have been trauma or something that they have gone through in the very beginning. Remember now, you're my mentor in getting me back to school now in mental health. But I learned a lot of that. A lot of things that go wrong in a relationship, especially as far as communication is concerned, is because that is your coping mechanism of staying quiet. That is your coping mechanism of being to the side. I'm just as good as you, Dave. Just give me some more time,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I
You've read
but
some words in the book.
but what I do recognize that if both of you are like that, you're never gonna come to the middle. And
Yeah,
maybe instead of having marriage counseling together, you need to have your own personal counseling first before you decide to take that step. Because without communication, you're not going to get off of first base. You're not even going to get to first base with it. So
yeah,
stonewalling is basically saying, I gave up. So I recommend, even if it's 4 to 6 phases of some type of therapy, to see why is it that you're not communicating, so that you could be able to move forward from there.
yeah. And I would just recommend that you start with what is motivating you behind the communication. Like, what is it that I want to get out of this discussion that I'm having, and then sort of utilize that as a basis for saying, okay, well, I can't go anywhere. If I'm in a marital relationship, I can't go anywhere. We have to solve this. Is this going to be important a day from now, a year from now? If not, then we can probably engage with it. Here's another one that comes from Claudia. Do you guys feel like your personalities ever clashed to where you felt the relationship couldn't work? If so, how'd you work through it?
Someone has to give up. People look at me because I you may think of me as an extrovert because I'm not an extrovert at all. Natalie would tell you that if I could find myself in a corner and stay in that corner, I'm fine. Do you agree with that? It's always difficult for me um, to be in public or to do something in public. Um, Natalie, when she makes a decision, that's what it is. Um, I know that for years that there's no possible way to change that. That's not necessarily negative all the time, but once her mind is made up towards something, that's it. I think that's the biggest clash that we ever have in our relationship. That's the biggest one. I think is that when she makes up her mind in something, that's it's it. That's totally it. Which stops me from communicating. You know what I mean? Which stops me from saying whatever it is that I want to say. Now, I do believe that she has the family's best interest at heart and my best interest at heart. That's where the foundation of the friendship comes from. But one thing that I've always said to her is, bring me along in that journey with you. Don't do it by yourself. Just that's one of the biggest things. Now, has it ever been to the point of breaking up or leaving or something of that nature? I don't think we've ever reached to the point of saying I'm out. But I've gotten to the point of saying I'm out up here, which is even probably worse than walking through the door. And what I realize is that the more that we need more spirituality. When the kids were coming through, we had a lot of worship, we had a lot of talks, we had a lot of this, that, and the other. We have our own devotions, but we don't come together and discuss unless we're driving long distance and we have a a conversation about religion. But I think what holds the minds together, which we need to do more of, and more couples need to do more of, is bringing God into the center of your life. I recognize I got to do more of that, more of waking up and praying together. I'm prayerful, but I don't pray. I mean, not I do pray, but I'm saying, hey, let's just pray together. We don't do it like that, I should say. So we've had clashes. Um, Go ahead.
I think in terms of our personalities, I mean, we are the same people we were before we got married,
Well, yeah.
right? So, and and I think the biggest thing with making it work is that everyone has different personalities. You have to respect who that person is. And when you're married long enough, you can anticipate how they're going to react to certain things, particularly in social situations. So I'm not a social butterfly. I'm not great. I mean, I might end up saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. I'm an introvert. Um, and and I've learned though, because of the nature of Pat's work and the nature of how Pat interacts with people, um, that I have to change in order to make it work when we go out or when we're around people. Um, so I think respecting one another's personalities, knowing how that person's going to react is important. So I'm a private person. I don't like my business out there. I don't think anyone does, but I don't. So because of that, I think Pat now respects and is more mindful of that. Pat may need to be around certain people. So because of that, I'm more mindful and I try to integrate myself more socially. You learn to adapt, but you have to do that without losing yourself. You learn to adapt to make it work. And you learn to add different facets to your own personality to make your marriage work, but you don't have to lose fundamentally who you are.
Listen, the worst thing that ever happened in December was me throwing a surprise party for Natalie. It was absolutely terrible planning it. Why? Because she doesn't want a surprise party. I knew she doesn't like parties. She doesn't like people around her. She doesn't like, well, close friends, I should say. So, I mean, I think you try to do things to to go as far as you can to break those type of molds to see how it works out. It worked out pretty much,
It was great. I loved it. I loved having my family and friends around. I
right?
really loved it.
And that's part of the spice that
Hit this question real quick, Pat.
anyway.
We got to take a couple more, so we got to go through them quickly. Can you talk about cultural differences? Any practical suggestions dealing with West Indians and Americans?
No, it's practical.
Yeah.
Here's the funny part. We're both second generation. I'm second generation Jamaican. She's second generation Trinidadian, but we're both American.
Ooh.
And no matter how you look at it, we're American because they don't consider us as Caribbean. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's stop that right off the back. My mother don't see me and say I'm Jamaican, but they kind of bring us up with this culture. Wow, that's another thing altogether. Again, you got to go back and learn the culture of each other in order to get along. Even if it's not West Indian, Southerners and Northerners live differently. We're not the same. Western United States and Eastern United States are two different types of ways of growing up.
Yeah.
Growing up in the ghetto and growing up in the suburban areas are two different ball games altogether. That's why I go back to say you have to learn in dating their family, learn what their family is all about. You know what I mean? So even though there's a cultural divide that's there, you have to be able to compromise in the cultural divide and see how you could compromise with that.
I think one of the things that helps is appreciating the different cultures. Don't just always pull out the negative. And trust me, I grew up in a Trinidadian household. They got a plenty to say about Black Americans. And I don't mean that in a negative way or to insult anybody, but that's just the reality. They always feel that there's a difference and they point out the difference. And that difference is often pointed out in a negative way. If you have different cultures in your household, try to point out the positive and try to integrate the positive into your household so that it's not so much, it doesn't become a burden and you begin to appreciate the benefit that other culture can bring. I mean, I want our kids as much as possible to be world citizens, not just citizens of their community. You have to learn to appreciate the benefits that other cultures can bring. And if you're both doing it in a marriage, in a relationship, it won't be as much of a conflict. It won't be as much as of a push and pull kind of thing.
Well, on the other side of it, our children have come home with their boyfriend, girlfriends, different nationalities. And we had to be careful of how we responded to it. Yes, I'll say it publicly. I want my Black daughter and sons to marry Black, or in our race in our whatever. But my thing is that we taught them love. right? So because we taught them love, love will break those barriers. So we also had to learn from that, not only in our relationship with each other, because Trinidadian and Jamaican are two different ball games altogether.
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand how that works. Yeah, that's like water and oil. I thought. Yeah.
Water and oil is
We
absolutely.
thought about having security at our wedding.
Oh, well, listen. Let's get into some more of these, right? So we got to go really quickly, right? Give some tips on long distance relationships working together, and this must be the second part of her question. How do you build friendships in dating?
Don't go to the movies. I'm gonna be fast on this. Don't go to the movies. Don't go. Take friends along with you. And this is true. I'm being honest with this. If you go to the movies, you're not talking. You're not having that talk. If you bring other people along, not even double dating, just bring other people along. You see how people react in with each other. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're dealing with dating, going to the movies, um, um, do something different. Walk together, check out nature together, um, go visit their family, visit each other's families, see what that's all about. Go see how they react at church. Are they, what do they do for their community? Those are the real ways of dating, so that you can understand what's happening. Don't watch TV and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to help.
You think?
That you're just mimicking something, and you're not communicating. Agree?
Agree.
Long distance relation. Go ahead.
I can address that really quickly. Find things that you enjoy doing together. Find things in common you enjoy doing together. Um, take the like aspect out of the relationship and think, if this were just my friend, what would we do? You call your friend, you talk to your friend all the time. You confide in your friend, and your friend takes your confidence and holds that confidence. And then your friend responds to you with empathy. I mean, that's what a friend is. So try to build a friendship outside of the feelings of like, or even like the sexual attraction. Try to build a friendship outside of that. Um, and see how that works, because as I said and we talked about earlier, the physical aspect of it is going to, go up and down, come and go, but your basic friendship should remain the same. So confide in each other, build up hobbies, do things together, laugh together, have your little private jokes, have your
Paint,
favorite movies you like to do,
paint rooms
whatever,
together.
and think way outside of the box.
Redo laundry rooms together.
By all means, think way outside of the box. Our new thing now is walking the C&O Canal. This is what we like to do on Sabbath. And just being out there together and say, hey, the last time we were here, we saw this, we saw this. You build an experience that only the two of you share. And that is when your friendship becomes intimacy. In terms of long distance relationships, I think that they are possible, but they're very difficult. And it takes two very, very committed people. And at some point, that has to end. At some point, you have to come together. It's like a plant. You can water it, but if you don't give it sun, it's not going to grow. Or if you give it sun, you don't give it water, it's not going to grow. You need both. There has to be a physical connection. You have to be in someone's presence to really enjoy the wholeness of a relationship. So at some point, you've really got to make the effort to become more physically closely located. It's not impossible, but it is an uphill battle. It's my opinion.
Well, we want to thank you both so much for being on today, Natalie, especially you. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. I think the consistent theme through a lot of the comments is just thank you for being real. Thank you guys for being open, transparent, and hopefully people have a lot of takeaways from this. What is the one thing that you want people to leave this discussion with? We've touched a lot.
Yeah, we have touched a lot. One thing is ask God to help you to work with what you have. Look at what you have as a blessing and accept, this is what I've got. I'm going to make it work. And use whatever tools God gives me to do that. And I'm going to be happy and enjoy doing it. I think your home and your spouse should be your happy place. No one wants to go through life and it's not. So determine in your heart and in your mind, because it is a thinking process as well. We're going to make this work and we're going to be happy doing it. and we're going to try new things and go on adventures and enjoy one another. Quite often we look at what other people have and we think that it's better. It never is better. You think that grass is greener, somebody's got to mow it. And everything is work.
And it could be artificial turf.
And it could be artificial turf, or it could die out in the summer. It's just never better than what you have. What you have is yours to work with. Work with it. And if it's early on and you're not married and you see it's not good, let it go. Get rid of what you're not supposed to have to make room for what you're supposed to have.
Wow. Wow.
All right, Pat, what do you think? One word, something that you want the people to leave with.
Impossible.
Or not one word. I meant just give us what you want people to walk away with.
I agree, and I think that coming up to this Sunday conversations, I had some reservations, because you always want to talk to people and be candid, but be honest. Even a couple of days ago, we kind of said, I don't want to say this, or I don't want to say that, or want to say the other, which really said to us, there are things we do need to talk about. There are things that we do need to discuss. And so not only is this helpful for those who are out there, it's also helpful for us who sort of like forced into having to ask the hard questions and answer the hard questions. It's true, we're in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the long haul, and there's a whole lot that we need to do to work on it. You can't just let a marriage go, and you see the results of letting a marriage go. And so I just let everybody know: press on, work at it, and water it. It'll grow if you water it. And I take that same advice for myself.
Gotcha.
One more thing I want to add, and this is not just for marriages, but even to young people, plan something for yourself. Always have something to look forward to. For us, it's vacations and cruises, and but you have something to look forward to, because sometimes the present can be depressing. Sometimes the present can get you down because it feels like there's nothing good coming. So always plan something for your future and work toward it, because it gives you something to look forward to together.
All right. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for coming on and for being our first guest and launching this show for us. Man, it exceeded our expectations infinitely. But, Natalie, we want to thank you. You confirmed for us what we all knew. You're the star of your family. Patrick, we want to thank you for coming on also, and you all being honest and open with us. And then, Denise, I want to thank you for making an appearance too. Hopefully I can get her to come and join me at least most of these Sundays. But I just want to share with you all, next week, we're back here, 10 o'clock, same station, same time, where we have David and Cynthia Franklin. David is the lead pastor at Miracle Temple, and Cynthia is a licensed clinical social worker. So I know that they're going to have good discussion points, and we're going to have a great time discussing with them on next week's Sunday at the same time. Listen, we want to thank you all for coming. Please make sure that you share this with someone who may need to hear it. And then by all means, you can watch the replay. Once again, I want to thank my friends Patrick and Natalie for joining us on the broadcast. And you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.